Good morning, everyone. It is a joy to welcome you to Newman Lumen on this Thursday morning. For those of you I don't have the pleasure of knowing, I'm Reverend Julie Tonneson and serve as one of the chaplains here at the Truett Center. And Newman Lumen is our Thursday morning tradition to gather in community to hear from a couple members of folks who make Elon what it is. So first of all, today, sharing some music with us, we are so pleased to welcome Jocelyn Bogart, who is a member of the class of 2027. She is a double major in vocal performance and marketing, as well as a business fellow. So I imagine the gray skies and cold air is not quite up to Dubai standards, but we're glad to have you here. In addition, she is one of the business managers for Twisted Measure. She's music directed a couple of student theater productions. Music and singing has always been a big part of her life. I can vouch for the gift of music that she shares with each of us, and so please help me to welcome Jocelyn Bogart.
Yesterday, I had lunch with Hunter, as we often do. I really love these lunches. It's a time to catch up, make plans, talk about the world as we see it and as we hope it could be. Yesterday, our conversation centered around Better Together, a program that in so many ways encapsulates who Hunter has become over his 4 years at Elon. I'll come back to Better Together in a moment, but I also think that Hunter really embodies this year's Newman Lumen theme, transforming walls into windows. When I first met Hunter, he was a first-year student. I was working in Jewish life, and he was a familiar presence in the Squat Hillel Center. Many mornings, I'd walk in to find him at one of the long tables, laptop open, mapping out his 4-year plan, tackling homework, or just as often, deep in conversation with members of the Jewish Life team. From the very beginning, Hunter sought out community, looked for pathways to leadership, and made connections wherever he could. But there were some walls here and there. Some were low, others higher. Some of the pathways to leadership were winding, a few were rocky, but that's the beauty of the journey. And Hunter, well, if you know him, you know that he sometimes takes the scenic route. Hunter is, shall we say, deeply involved in many things. He's a double major in political science and international and global studies with a triple minor in interreligious studies, peace and conflict studies, and Spanish. He's a multi-faith scholar. He's a college fellow. He's the secretary of the Milk Club, a student facilitator for Better Together, breakout session coordinator for the Ripple Conference, a gamer, a cook, a cat lover, a musician, and sometimes diligent planner. But beyond all of these achievements, Hunter is something more. Hunter is a mensch, as we say in Yiddish, a truly good human. A mensch doesn't walk through doors that open for them. They hold the door open for others, ensuring that more voices, more perspectives, and more people are included. And that's what Hunter does. That's what he's learned to do here at Elon and throughout his study abroad. This year, Hunter brought Better Together back to life, creating a space where faculty, staff, and students could come together to break bread, discover common grounds, and learn from one another's differences. This, to me, sums up his Elon journey. From where I sit, there's nothing quite as fulfilling as watching someone become who they truly are. And I've been really lucky to walk alongside Hunter on this journey. Some students, when they graduate, become lifelong friends. I have no doubt that Hunter will become one of those. And I'm happy to welcome him to the podium today.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming. I have known that I was going to speak today since all the way back in November, which is kind of crazy, but it still feels weird. And 3.5 in a little bit change years later, after coming to Elon, I'm about to talk about some of that winding scenic route. I find myself up here still just fascinated and in disbelief that some people think that I have valuable things to say to you all. Well, I hope that I'm up to the challenge, and I hope that I can provide a little bit of inspiration. So without further ado, I will get into it and speak. I've structured my talk about turning walls into windows internally and externally, because walls and even windows may not be what we think they are. Since I first discovered it in a summer study abroad program in Israel during my summer after sophomore year of high school, I have known about and been extremely impacted by anxiety, both generalized and notably present in any big or even small life transitions. Say, the starting 2 weeks of the semester were going great this spring, senior spring, almost there. And when I left behind, and that's a bit of an understatement to say, but when I left behind my more structured, comfortable, and familiar routined life in high school, as high school often is compared to this craziness that we are in college, I had a lot of doubts, and my family had a lot of doubts given my previous experience that I would be able to cut it and make it and figure out lifing, adulting, and colleging. And so coming here after the first few crazy days is when my walls kicked in, and it was, let me tell you, and to again understate, it was pretty rough. It was pretty debilitating. The most basic of things were suddenly mountains to move. And not to go into too much detail about a rather sensitive trait and one of the worst 2-week periods of my life, I will just say that it was, again, one of the worst periods of my life. And my family and I were discussing the very real possibility of going back home and deferring or dropping out of college. I'm very glad that that did not happen and that I am here today, but it was just really difficult. And what helped ended up being the wonderful place and community that Elon is and all of the things I found, even if all those things have changed a bit semester to semester, and it has been a bit of a scenic route. But by taking things one day at a time, 1 hour, one step at a time, I was able to really open myself up and realize all that there was here to take advantage of and make the most of my time at Elon. Where are we? Because I knew that Elon was, aside from the jokes about Camp Elon, and I'm a big camp kid, Jewish summer camp and youth group and all of that fun stuff. There is something there. Elon is a place made of just amazing and supportive people and institutions and everything. And it may have taken a few weeks, but I was immediately, for me to get there to the place where I could participate in that. But finally, when I did get there, it has been the most amazing 3.5 years, academically, socially, extracurricularly. And as many of you who know me already know, I have more than made the most of my Elon experiences through somehow being allowed to double major, triple minor, almost quadruple, and college fellows, multi-faith scholars, in the classroom, taking the most advantage of Elon's wonderful professors and faculty and staff, and making amazing, deep relationships with probably half the faculty and staff in this room, and more. And all the organizations that I've been a part of, shout-outs to Hillel and Chabad, and Truett Center, Model United Nations, Peace and Conflict Studies, Improv, and Milk Club, studying abroad in Spain for 4 months, living my entire life in a different language and integrating into that culture with some anxiety. It wasn't easy, but I had the best time at the end of the day and was able to prove, hey, I can do this. I can come to Elon and make it and make the most out of it. I can go to Washington, D.C. for a summer and have an internship and be a real working person and make the most out of that. And I can go all the way across the ocean to Spain and make the most of that and be a real life person. I'll get more to the walls and windows in a second, but there are walls, there are windows, and let's get to the transforming. Reflecting back, that freshman Hunter or even the high school Hunter, he seems so far away, almost like I can wave to him through a nice foggy window. And coming back to the theme, I've really just grown so much through all of my experiences. And coming back to the theme, I am so glad I was able to transform my initial walls and enduring walls into windows that I could then climb through and enjoy all that was outside, and see my Elon experience as the culmination of all of that maturity and learning. But just because I was able to overcome my challenges and create a meaningful life experience so far, we're still going, and college experience also so far, trying to wrap some things up this semester, that doesn't mean that walls can be permanently transformed into windows. I mean, even windows are ostensibly a border between you and whatever is outside. Windows are meant to protect you. Windows are meant to be these barriers. And that's not always a bad thing. I see walls as blocking more of the interaction with the world than windows, right? Walls are, I can see out there through the windows, but I can't see out there through the walls. Maybe there's something really scary out there. Maybe we're not ready yet. So even walls can be helpful too. I just want to cast a little bit of doubt on the whole notion of walls are bad, windows are good, because at the end of the day, it's all growth, and it's all how you relate to the space outside of and past you, the space that you can see and the space that you can't see. So we shouldn't forget our walls and our foundational challenges and characteristics. I'm so metaphorical to physical right now. That those walls are there for a reason, and those windows are there for a reason. Again, speaking metaphorically, just to clarify our walls and our challenges and our opportunities. And hey, we could even add in doors to open the door and then go outside, which is great. I do truly believe that transforming our walls into windows gains us new perspectives and takes some of the walls, maybe the part that we don't need, and lets us use that to the fullest. The joy and the novelty of our human condition is that we can't really know happiness and joy unless we know pain, unless we have that sadness, that anxiety, those challenges. Like we can't have windows or doors without walls too. And I'm very glad that I've constructed what I like to think of as a castle out of my walls and windows. It's kind of modern and Frank Lloyd Wright-y in my head, which is cool, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I don't like to define myself by my anxiety or anything else like that, and I don't necessarily want this to be a talk that you remember for that. All I'll say is that I do live with anxiety and other challenges and walls, as do we all, and that's okay. Like, there's shattered glass in my head all day sometimes. But there are also like beautiful windows and castles to climb. I'm rambling. The key thing is that I find success in that scenic route, not by denying or fighting my anxiety, which likes having procrastination field days, but it's in how you work around it, like how you are you, and you achieve the experiences and successes that you have. Fingers crossed that I continue that after May. And I want to emphasize that everyone goes through these things, goes through these walls and these windows. I see some nods. Like, patience is key, and like knowing ourselves, understanding ourselves, and working, because you have to want it. You have to seize the opportunities and sometimes make the opportunities in front of you. So anyway, not to get too motivational speaker-esque, the second part of the talk today is, like, that's a bit about the internal walls to windows. Here's a bit about external walls to windows, because I've talked about ourselves and overcoming our own challenges, balancing our walls and windows, that opportunity, but that's on us, and we have full agency and control over ourselves. Anything we do or don't do, we're responsible for that. But when we're talking about ourselves and others, things get more complex and thus more fun. I should also probably mention that in high school, I had relatively low exposure to people from different backgrounds and traditions. I mentioned Jewish school and youth group and stuff. Mainly Boy Scouts was the only thing I did that was outside of the Jewish sphere. But like, these things gave me a great passion for helping others and really built my moral compass. So coming into Elon, I was really exposed to much more diversity of people, opinions, backgrounds, religions than I had known before. And that was something I could take advantage of, this amazing environment that I've spoken about, academically, socially, extracurricularly. And I really wanted to connect with others and to learn from others and to explore how I was similar to others and different from others, to both see my own place in the world and just to learn more about the world. Recently wrote my core capstone reflection, and all of that wonderful Elon experience scaffolding for global citizenship and personal responsibility and social responsibility, ethical reasoning. Love the experience, plug Elon core curriculum. So I made it my ball rolling into the first organizations and most involved organizations that I've been a part of, Elon, Hillel, and Chabad, that umbrella of the Jewish community, to see, hey, there are these two organizations with amazing and passionate Jewish students, but they aren't interacting with each other as much as I think would be cool, and they should. So I made it my mission, like, I'm going to promote Jewishness and togetherness and all of that great stuff, and with successes, with walls, with windows, but overall, like, seeing how the Jewish community has come together, not just from my efforts, but from the efforts of so many amazing Jewish students, and even, unfortunately, after the tragedy of October 7th, seeing the Jewish community come together can show us how, even under one umbrella of the group, of the Jewish community, how walls can be transformed into windows and how leadership is key there. And I love facilitating those connections between groups, between people that don't interact with each other. So from one umbrella to 1,000, I will end by speaking about the Better Together program. I wanted to do more. I've always loved connecting people in groups and, again, exploring those similarities and differences. So after I was already a good way through my Elon journey, I was talking. How did it even start? I applied to be a multi-faith intern and then realized that that wouldn't work for me, and then basically have done the workload anyway. And and that project that I thought of and was passionate about was just simply bringing people together over breaking bread. And so with more B alliteration, we have Better Together program, this program that there was, and I had the chance to revitalize this year. And that's just very simple. Weekday lunches, invitations to all students, faculty, and staff, and bringing people together to explore these and build these connections that we all have together. Like, the world is a very confusing, very scary, very divided place, and in all this polarization and disconnect, Better Together stands as a bastion of, I can't think of another B word, but bridge building and bread breaking, and building of ties. Like, that is so important, and that is what turns our walls into more of the windows, is by engaging with people who are like us, by engaging with people who are different from us, by taking the most of the experiences and opportunities that we are offered. So to stop my rambling, I will end with a challenge, and I will challenge you all to take a look at what walls there are in your own lives and beings, and what windows there are, how we may transform those walls into windows, and then take a look outside of yourself. What do you do all day? Who do you interact with? Like, what walls are there between you and the rest of the world, and how might we make those a little clearer and make some windows?
Tree